Hey guys, TrueShotMagic here. I'm going to be making a video on a KWA SR10 and a G&G CQBR. I'm going to be going over the differences between a standard type gun and the KWA 2GX gearbox. So basically, by the end of this video, you should know the difference between the 2GX, what makes the KWA gearbox the 2GX gearbox, and compared to a standard one. So first of all, when it comes to externals, KWA is just KWA. Their bodies are two-piece hop-ups, so kind of like JG stuff. So let's go ahead and take this pin out and see how it compares to a G&G. Take the back pin out. So on this one, you take the back pin out, not the front pin out, or both. You can take the front one off if you want to separate the upper. But what you do is you break open the receiver like this instead of slide it off like a G&P or a G&G or a Classic Army, a lot of those kind. So I kind of like this, that you can open the receiver up. It's more realistic like a PTW, but there's no cylinder. It's kind of like an ICS split gearbox as well, but there's no cylinder. It's one-piece gearbox here. The hop-up is two-piece, which can be a downer for some people because Pro-Wins cannot fit in here and Lone-X hop-ups can't fit in here. So one-piece hop-ups won't fit in here. Gotta have a two-piece. So that's kind of a bummer. You can do modifications to get them to work though, and you'd have to take off the front pin and the back pin and slide it off that way. I've seen people do that. So that's that. The bucking is a V-bucking. KWA's V-buckings. They're actually pretty good. In my experience, I've experienced two of them in KWA guns. I had a third one in a ACR. It was a ANK ACR. They all worked fairly well in those guns. I used 2s and 2.5s in both of those guns, so I haven't used one on like a precision DMR rifle. This one is a longer range rifle. It hops BBs pretty well. But the feet per second is kind of on the down low, so I don't think that's the bucking's fault, though. It can't be. It's not ripped or anything. So, specifications on the inside of the gearbox, you have a long type motor, so it's your standard motor, so you can put any upgrade motor in here. That's not proprietary at all. It's a KWA high torque. It's a 19 TPA. It has Furious magnets, so it's not that strong, but they're thick Furious magnets. So I like the motor. It's my second favorite stock motor. My first favorite is actually the Echo One high torque motor. Those are actually really good. I have one in one of my friend's gun, and it's 2 years old, and it works really, really well in his JG. And then there's a KWA in this, and it works pretty well. And I've seen these mixed with 13-1s and all sorts of gear sets, and they work pretty well. I currently have a 16-1 set in here. SHS, because the KWA set had one tooth that popped, so I just put a 16-1 in there, and the rate of fire stayed fairly the same, but the SHS gear set is strong, fairly strong. I did not keep the KWA bevel, I just used the SHS, so I feel like it's going to last. It should. KWA bevels, or pinions, are actually pretty good too. KWA gearbox shell, super, super thick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on camera. Let me actually bring you close with the other hand. So I hope you guys can see this. The gearbox shell thickness, look how thick that is. Especially at the bottom where gearbox shells normally crack. Look at how thick that is. Now that is a very good feature. So the gearbox shell is going to be very strong. I have seen them crack, but these would probably be one of your best bets to build a DMR off of. Because like I said, because of the gearbox shell strength, thickness. But one thing that sucks is you can't put like a Pro-Win in there, because I know a lot of people like Pro-Wins with DMR setups because you can fine tune them a little bit better hop-up wise. Proprietary parts, you have the two-piece hop-up. The KWA nozzle is also proprietary, and it does not have an O-ring, but it seals pretty good. Standard cylinder head, version, what I think is a version 3 spring guide, because it locks in the receiver, but it may be completely proprietary and not even version 3 compatible. It has ball bearings on there though, so you really don't need to replace that. I think there's new 110 spring in here, according to the FPS that I'm getting. The piston head has no port on it, and that sucks, compression was crap with that. With that one, so I put a Cyma plastic piston head on here, and compression doubled. So feet per second currently it's about 340, 350 with 0.2s. I'm probably going to be dropping in a brand new M110 spring in here with the long barrel. That should sit me at about 370 full stroke. But I may get an M115 or an M120 if I can find it, and get right up to that 400, right at that limit, so that this thing kind of zings. And get some good power on it, because this is a longer barrel. This is like a 16-inch or a 20-inch, I think. I think it's 16, maybe 18. I'll have to measure it, but it's actually, and the inner barrel goes pretty much all the way to the end. So this is a longer range rifle. So, you know, I kind of want to get that that consistency in FPS and higher FPS. So I want to get about 380, 390 with 0.2s after the spring is settled in. And the gearbox shell should handle that. So I think I may do an M115. Because my experience, M115s with shorter barrels always did like 370, 360 after they break in. So with this longer barrel, an M115 should sit me at about 380 broken in. Especially because this is a 6.03. So piston is standard. It's pretty strong. It's plastic. Got one metal tooth, release tooth. They're pretty good pistons. One tooth is removed for AOE. There's not a sorbo pad in here, and I think that's why the gun is so loud. The KWA gears aren't bad. It has a sector chip on there, so potentially you could throw an 11-1 LiPo in here and get probably 23, 22 rounds a second, probably 22, and it will feed at that. There's no sector chip on this gear, but I have plugged an 11-1 in here, and it feeds with the 16-1s with no sector chip, and probably about 24 rounds a second it gets. And it feeds fine at that, so that's pretty good. 16-1 set in here is SHS, and the Cyma piston head. Everything else is completely stock. Let's hear it. So shimming is okay. The shimming I admit it's not the best. Also, this is a 9mm gearbox, so it uses 9mm bearings. So kind of weird, you know, size. I'm pretty sure it's a 9mm. Maybe 8, but I'm pretty sure it's 9. And bearings, bearings are okay, but I wouldn't run anything over an M120 with bearings, just for longevity. But if you want to use like an M130 or something, go ahead and put some bushings in there, some sort of, really any bushings. Very loud. The bevel, the height between the bevel and the motor is where the sound's coming from. I shimmed this once. I lubricated it all, so it's lubricated. I may take it apart and reshim it eventually, but with the 7.4, it doesn't sound too bad. Okay, so let's compare it to a G&G. I'm just going to go over how you take it apart and just, I won't go over like what's in the G&G. I did make a video on the G&G gearbox, so go check that out. I'm just going to compare like the gearbox shell thickness and the way you take it apart. So pretty good for a 7.4. It is, the shimming's a little off. Now, the shimming on this is pretty dang good. I took it apart and reshimmed it. I have that video up. Feet per second wise, if you saw my other video, after fixing the compression, I am getting 300, like really low 360s or high 350s, where it's sighted in with 0.2s. So, good FPS. About an M110 spring is what I assume is in here. But it's a really crappy barrel. So yeah, if you swap to a 6.02, it would probably jump 15 feet per second. So yeah, maybe an M120 or M110 in here. Feet per second, like I said, low 360s, high 350s. So this is legal anywhere in my state. So to use indoors and out. So how you take this apart is you pop the front pin out and you slide the upper receiver off. And in my opinion, I don't like that as much. It's just not as realistic. I'm going to use this as a one-piece hop-up. This is a, I think this is an 8.4 battery, or a really weak 9.6. I need to count like it's a 1.2 volt per battery per cell. I need to count, but I think this is an 8.4. which this thing really needs a 9.6. But shimmying is quite perfect on this thing, actually. I changed the shimmying a little bit, but I lubricated it, and that helped a lot. The lubrication. It's actually not bad for what I believe is an 8.4. I have a 9.6 in the other room, and I did test it, and it sounds much better with that. But it's a brick, so it doesn't fit in here. So recommendations to the owner that owns this, just for fun, I'd say a 7.4 nunchuck would fit in here. I'd recommend him to get that, and also a new motor. I'm thinking a ZCI Balance to pop in here. Other than that, that's what I recommend first. And he's on a strict budget, so LiPo 15 shipped probably, and then a motor 32 shipped. That's fairly expensive still for the owner, but he can use the stock for a while. But a 7.4 I would urge him to get first, because this motor will be fine for a little while. With the 7.4, it should give better performance than this, but it still needs a new motor because these G&G motors are weak. So a ZCI Balance should bump the rate of fire by 3 rounds a second probably, and the trigger response will go up as well. So thank you for watching, guys. That's just the difference. Oh, I totally forgot to show you guys the gearbox shell thickness. Oh, whoops, sorry guys. I done goofed. Okay. See how thin it is up there? There's a little bit of reinforcement. Not much. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. Again, the 2GX gearbox has a few good features, but proprietary parts, the spring guide might be proprietary, maybe version 3 compatible. The nozzle is definitely proprietary. The hop-up is proprietary. Other than that, it's compatible with pretty much everything else. So it's really not much proprietary, to be honest. Just stick with their nozzle. Stick with their hop-up and upgrade everything else. Their motor's not bad, like I said. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry for making the video too long. But if you have any questions, comment below. If you have any thing that I missed, this is strictly internal, so I'm not going over the externals. But internals, I pretty much went over everything that's proprietary and what's not. Trigger contacts are standard and everything. You can put a MOSFET in here very easily. The way the buffer tube screw goes in, you could wire in a MOSFET real easy. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you guys later.